Hey guys, we are back for another video. Now, I don't know if you guys had the opportunity to see the upcoming and new trailer for the Braxton Family Values. If not, we are going to get into it. But specifically, what we're going to get into is the Braxtons and how they have assisted in the mistreatment of their own niece. Now, if you are not aware, Ashley Braxton is their niece. Please go look her up on YouTube, on TikTok. She told her story without honestly giving any names. And we're going to get into that and kind of piggyback on the trailer and what happened in the trailer and just how they used her for ratings and pretty much threw her away. Make sure you guys are liking the video. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel, and let's get into it.
Please, I don't have any time for any gossip now. Eh? Yes.
Hit that bell cause the tea don't stop. She don't miss nothing, got the scoop on lock. Spilling all the tea while it's still too hot. Lakeysha Keysha, queen of the plot. Hit that bell cause the tea.
Okay, guys, so we're going to get into it, and we're going to start with the first message. I'm not going to call it the first message, but Ashley had come to social media and she was telling us about what had happened in her family with one of her aunts. She did not mention who the aunt was, but of course, y'all know how social media is, and everybody drew their own speculation. So, for those of you who may not be familiar with Ashley's story, this is Ashley, the Braxtons. This is their brother's daughter. Now, let me give y'all a little backstory on her before I play the video. Although this is their brother's daughter, she was actually abandoned. And when I say abandoned, it is simply because her mother did not want to be affiliated with none of the Braxtons, nor her and her sister, who is deceased now. And her sister actually died, it seems like, as a result of, how she was treated. Now, Ashley said she was abused. She didn't say who it was, but everybody has pretty much speculated who it was. But she also mentions this story, and it seems like she was ostracized by the entire family. So let's get into it.
One of my aunts and my family do not talk to me because they think that I, at the age of 16, did something with her partner at the time. And I have been a nervous wreck to talk about something like this and to tell this story. A, because of my family. B, because I don't want people, it's not to hurt people to tell my story. But at the same time, I've been working through this so much in therapy, and this is something that goes way deep to my core in terms of worthiness and how I feel about myself. And it's been such a journey. And it's that moment of my life where I have to fully confront it and face it and talk about it, but talk about it because I also want to shed light for the women and the men and anybody who has gone through something like this, where you were underage and something in that sort of manner happened in terms of that sort of word of abuse. And I feel like I have to be careful with what I'm saying here because I don't want to be banned from talking about these situations, but also we kind of have to talk about it.
Now, I'm glad she mentioned the word ban because I really believe she's been shadow banned because a lot of her message seems not to get a whole bunch of views. So she talking about this. She's not saying names. She's just pretty much telling a story and not really alluding to much of anything. But if you are familiar with the Braxtons, you can kind of piece together what she's saying.
I'm also not very good at storytelling, and I'm new to all this, and I'm also trying to get ready at the same time and tell a story. And I feel like the story is quite complicated and detailed, so like bear with me here. But yeah, so one of my aunts does not talk to me because I guess she felt like I did something with her partner at that time. And nothing happened, but I'm going to try to tell the story quickly and also not name any names. And so I was with this aunt for the summer with my sister, and I can't remember how much time had passed since we were there in the summer for a little bit of time to when we got home. And when I think it was my stepmother was going through my phone and she found this conversation, this sort of conversation. And she showed it to my dad, and my dad called that aunt, and we spoke about it and we talked about it a little bit. And I remember just a lot of emotions, was a lot going on. I was 16 at the time, and I'm 32 now. I had to think about it. I'm 32 now. And so, oh my God, it's been 16 years. This is wild. Anyway, okay. So yeah, my aunt was there for me. She was very kind and very nice. I was like, I'm so sorry that
So she was actually 16 at the time, still a kid.
this happened to you, blah, 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 blah. And not blah, 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 but she was very kind, and it just felt like safe, you know? But then as the years had gone by, it's like that mood and that assumption that I didn't do anything because I was a child was not that assumption anymore. And it boggled my mind because it was like, wait, but if it happened or if it was true, then that would make him, you know, and like, you're okay with that? Like, that's what you would like to hear? And I will just never forget how when I got older, I just realized that I really had to take the time and go back to that part of my life and understand how much feeling of like I didn't matter, that I
So guys, what's happening here is Ashley is going through therapy. And if anybody has went through therapy, in order to heal, you must go back to where you feel like certain issues occurred. So keep in mind, she's going into the story and she's telling you from, from her age now, but she's going back into her mind to what actually occurred at the time.
was unworthy. It just felt like love from my family was just cut off and gone. And
So, love from her family was cut off and gone because of what happened to her. So, when I say in my title of my video, the Braxtons, they're evil, they mistreated their niece Ashley, brought her back on their show for ratings because Ashley had been abandoned from the beginning. Not only has she been abandoned by her own mother, she had been abandoned by her father. She was ultimately abandoned because of what her aunt's husband did to her when she was 16 years old.
you're like, but wait, that guy? And it made it even worse because it was like, wait, this guy that was doing this to you on TV? And like, it's kind of in cohorts in the same spirit of what was happening. Not in the same cohorts in the same spirit, but like, you know, I like, it's so painful. And I know that the ladies, the men, the everybody who has experienced this sort of feeling when your family doesn't believe you, or when you're at an age where you shouldn't have been put in that situation to have to navigate it. And however you navigate it was however you navigated it. And this is what I learned in therapy is like how I navigated it and how I dealt with it was how I dealt with it. But the most important thing to understand is that I never should have been put in that spot in the first place. And I think that's the devastating part, is that you realize that you didn't ask for that. You know, I did not ask for that.
It's almost like when a person is abused, you blame the person who was abused and not the person who actually did it. She was 16 years old. So why is an adult male sexing a 16-year-old? Like, why? And why are you blaming her for the actions of your husband?
No matter what, I didn't ask for that. So I'm just wondering what other people who have gone through this, how they decided to handle this sort of situation. How did you go about telling your truth? And how do you tell your truth in a way that honors you? And I think the reason why I'm addressing it now so much is because I'm getting older. And if I want to have kids, and especially if I want
And guys, let's kind of touch on that. What she's saying makes absolutely it makes sense. She says she's getting older. She talks about having her own family. One thing that happens is when you're young, you're dumb. Just let's just be honest. Young people have no experience with life. They're young. That is typical. It's not a dig, it is the truth. Once you get older, you start to realize things and you try to make changes in your life, but then sometimes you struggle because you're trying to figure out why you cannot move forward. Now, this is not just for some people, this is for everybody, because we all get to a place in life where we want to move forward. But unfortunately, sometimes our past would keep us from doing that.
to have girls, like, I don't want to still be in that space and place and in that situation and just even having to deal with it, you know? And so next year, I'm planning to go to the US and I'm planning to like confront a lot of things because my sister passed away. Like, I've just I fled the country because I was needing to save my own self and my own life.
And I get it, guys. So, what she ended up doing is she left the United States. Currently, that is not where she lives. So, what she's saying is she wants to at some point come back, because although she fled because it was the best thing for her at that time, she still feels like she needs to address the issue. See, sometimes when you're going through something that is deeply um, deleting you and depleting you in the inside, it's best to just go somewhere for safety for now. But then once you can muster up that courage and you're stronger, come back and confront the issues. And this is what she's talking about.
And when I say all of this is not a dig to my family member because it's really sad that she also was put in that situation of having to deal and having to handle. That's not her. Like, I don't wish that upon anyone either. Do you know? There's sympathy there. But there's also so many other aspects of it when
So basically, what she's saying is she's referring to her aunt, and she's basically saying it's not really her aunt's fault. Obviously, what her husband, the aunt's husband, does is not something that the aunt obviously can control. So she's given her aunt sympathy, but also what she's going to go on to say is she was a child. Like, she was a child. 16 years old is a child, yet she is a teenager. She was a child.
you're a child and you're like denied a voice, it's pretty much been like a lifelong battle for me. So it's been a journey, But I appreciate spaces like this where I feel like if I talk about it on social media, and I just felt like, I don't know, like I just felt like TikTok was the space and the place to talk about it, and it felt right, and it just felt accepted in this community. And so if you've ever been that person.
Okay, so the reason why I wanted to play that first, simply because I have another clip to bring up for you guys. Okay, so that is where it started. She came onto social media. She never ever called out any names. She just said her aunt's husband. She has a few aunts, so you would literally have to figure it out, which pretty much we have all figured it out. Look at the thumbnail. Okay, this is what, or who I believe the husband is. Gabe, as you know, is passed away. But in the next clip, which is going around on social media, we see Trina. And let's just get into what she had to say.
Series of
Wait, I'm sorry, y'all.
unfortunate events in the Braxton family lately.
What we were told is you didn't want to film with us.
Well, you already know why I want to film with y'all.
Wait a minute, hold on.
Okay, so I do have to give my commentary. I cannot just let that play through. So for, some of the people in the comments that say just let it play through, well, you have to go to social media and you have to watch it through, because I'm not able to do that here. Okay, so let's kind of get into it. So what is happening here is Tamar is into it with her sisters. And I know y'all was wondering, where was the sisters when all of that stuff happened online with Tamar? It's clear you're not talking to her. So Tamar decided to bring Ashlee onto her podcast. But I've said it from the beginning, it was simply for ratings for the show. Okay. So what ended up happening is she ended up getting into it with her sisters.
Hold on.
My niece Ashlee, who we love very much, posted her videos on social media with some accusations about her family. My family was a little surprised.
Well, there was a lot going on the internet.
Tamar announced that she would be interviewing our niece Ashlee on.
Now, it's interesting that Tonibraxton says that, Ashlee made accusations about the family. Because my question is, Tonibraxton, are these actual accusations? Because they don't seem to be accusations, and you guys are going to understand why I do not believe that these are accusations, but in fact that they seem to be very truthful. For one reason, Ashlee was ostracized from her own family, and it really hurts my heart to talk about it, because people are abused and neglected every day, but yet for some reason they're supposed to hold it in for the rest of their life, for fear if they open their mouth about what they experienced, it's going to make whoever did it to them look bad. And that's just not, it's not good.
Tamar's podcast, I didn't think was a good idea.
I am getting Ashlee here. You're not going to make me feel bad about that. I wanted her to come to a safe place to tell her story.
And all of this happened right before we started shooting season 2 of the Braxtons.
So, as y'all can see, Tamar is going at it now with her sisters, because simply they did not want her to bring Ashlee onto this show. They did not want this to be talked about. So let's unpack this here. Ashlee tells about what has happened to her. It is her experience. It's her life. Why would anybody try to prevent her from sharing? She did not give anybody's names, but not only did they try to prevent her from sharing it, they also got a cease and desist.
Next thing I know, y'all tried to shut down my entire
Don't
business.
say y'all.
Sending a cease and desist is shutting down my business. Exhibit B. The cease and desist. I got a cease and desist before Ashlee was on my podcast.
And I thought that was messy too, because listen to what Tamar is saying. Sorry about that. My timer keep going off. She said that she got a cease and desist before Ashlee came on, but she never told Ashlee about it. So she allowed Ashley to come on her podcast simply because she wanted ratings without even addressing the cease and desist, obviously, because she wanted everything to proceed. Now, I get Tamar came off as if she was helping Ashley, and I love that she was supporting Ashley, but where is she now?
Even say anything.
How do you feel about the platform that Ashley is being given?
I think sometimes people take the opportunity that's given to them without even thinking about the repercussions.
Now, in this clip right here, we get into Trina, and I don't understand, but I could imagine because it seems like now everything is falling on Trina, but I beg to differ because I believe what Ashley was looking for was to be able to be heard. Because I mean, in all honesty, Trina cannot be responsible for something her husband did, but Trina could be open to listen. Trina did not have to turn her back on a 16-year-old based on something a grown ass man did to a child. So in this clip right here, Trina to me is coming off as the victim, a grown ass lady who failed to look at a child's perspective. Now, Ashley is an adult now. When I say child, this happened to her at 16 years old. She was pretty much ostracized from the family based on what she went through. And in this clip, Tamar also shared her experience because Tamar said, when I told my story, they didn't even listen to me, and they told me they wasn't going to listen to me. So let's get back into it.
You should never hear something about your family through social media first. Period. People.
Now, again, this is Trina not taking responsibility. You should never hear anything about your family through social media. Again, she's deflecting and she's not taking responsibility. For one, you really can't tell a person how and when to share whatever they're going through. And I don't believe that Ashley first shared it on social media because she said it happened to, when she was 16. Therefore, everybody was notified. And then it seems like, as she stated, that is why she doesn't have the close relationship with them, because it seems like what she said is at some point, although it seemed like they were open to, understanding, at some point it turned to it was her fault.
Who have absolutely no knowledge or idea of the situation were bullying me.
Right.
Was devastated.
You see, and that's what I said. The deflection is real. So Trina wants to tell us how people are bullying her, as if Ashley wasn't being bullied by people telling her, why are you talking about this? What are you trying to get out of this? We don't believe you. But again, that victim mentality, I'm going to take your pain and make it my problem because people were saying stuff to me because that happened to you. I don't like that.
I was absolutely devastated. I told you, I'm sorry that this has happened to you, and I embraced you. But if there was something additional that you needed from me, why didn't you call me?
Now, that right there is what people who deflect does. You know it's a problem. I know it's a problem. You a grown-ass woman. I'm a 16-year-old kid. But you tell the kid, if you needed something from me, you should have called. Well, after I saw the preview, y'all, it made very much sense with regards to the video that Ashley posted on her YouTube channel right after she came to the United States. And we're going to get into that because based on this preview, now I know and understand what Ashley was saying. And I did a video about it earlier. Ashley was treated very bad. She was treated very bad. In fact, in this interview here, she talks about not being believed. She talks about, getting herself back into a calm space. And she pretty much, in so many words, it wasn't good for her actually to go to the United States because it seemed like, they were up to old tricks, y'all. So let's get into this clip.
I left to go to the U.S. on Sunday. So I think it was either like Wednesday.
or Thursday. No, maybe Wednesday. I look through my phone. I'm looking at my emails and I got an email that pops up. And it's a cease and desist letter from you know who.
Okay, so let's talk about the cease and desist. As y'all just watched in the previous clip, Tamar received a cease and desist. She said she didn't say anything about it. So she let Ashley come knowing that she had received this cease and desist. So now Ashley receives the cease and desist.
From the one who shall not be named, to Lord Voldemort. And I was like, and immediately I was back to that little kid again. The little kid who was told to shut up. The little kid who had to hold everything in and be quiet. Like, it just felt like somebody was pressing on that part again. You know, it feels like somebody's going like this to you, and it's like somebody's starting to squeeze it, and I'm starting to feel like this again. Like, oh no, people are trying to shut me up. It's crazy. Took a little bit to process that. There's a lot of anger in that. There's a lot of like disappointment. Also feelings of just kind of being over it, because it's like, what's this? Do you know what I mean? There's been no phone call to me, but there's text messages, there's this letter, cease and desist, and it feels like everybody around me is talking. There's a lot of chatter going around, and I can hear it and I can feel it, but it's like there's no chatter that's coming directly to me in terms of like a phone call.
Okay, so let's kind of get into that. We kind of got to read between the lines. What she's saying is people around her are talking about her, but nobody is talking to her. Have y'all ever been in a situation where you know these folks gossiping about you, you know they're gossiping about you, but yet you're here in the vicinity of these two idiots and they're around you and they're gossiping over you? So what she's saying is it's uncomfortable. She's there with her family. Instead of them directly talking to her, they are talking about her.
Or something like that. Do you know what I mean? It's very much like, here's a text message and here's a letter. And, you know, when I had my therapy session and I had a chance to kind of sit down and think about it, I was just like, you know, what we kind of put together is like, what do you do when you're scared? Do you know what I mean? When you're fearful, that's kind of how you decide to act. And so, you know, now that I'm here, I can kind of understand where it comes from. But at the same time, it was super stressful because, you know, then I didn't know also that when I was going to the US that I was going to be doing a scene with Braxton Family Values.
Right there. And I did a video on this earlier, y'all. Y'all got to go check it out. And maybe if I get time in this video, I'll take y'all to that video. It's on my channel somewhere. She went way to the United States. Not these people. Tamar did not tell her that she would be filming a scene with the Braxton Family Values. So you had this woman to come all the way to the United States and then tell her she was going to be filmed. So she gets there and now she's filmed. You use her for ratings. And, you know, Tamar, I was really beginning to give you some credit, but you are from the Braxtons and you act just like them. You have that same mentality of using people. She flew all the way to the United States and not one time did you tell her. Obviously, at some point when she got way to the United States, you told her she was filming a scene, but you knew she was filming a scene the whole time.
So that kind of caught me off guard too.
Let me rewind it.
Because, you know, then I didn't know also that when I was going to the US that I was going to be doing a scene with Braxton Family Values. And so that kind of caught me off guard too. And I was just like, okay, you know, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it now? How am I going to voice my opinion? Like, it became about you, became about this one. And it's like, I don't want to say something that could actually legally get me in trouble because I don't feel like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just so much pain in it. And so it was just really stressful on the way. And I tried to have brave face and I tried to it's why I just didn't post. It's why I didn't really talk. It's just heavy, you know what I mean? Because, you know, in life is very unfair. And I think you realize you want
a situation to go the way that works for you, right? Like you want the support, you want the love, you want the
Okay, guys, read through what she's saying. She's indirectly saying, I mean, she's a human. Of course, she wants the support. Of course, she wants the love. She didn't get that. You had this woman because she's a young woman now, although she's your niece. And at one point, she was 16 years old. She was taken advantage of. Y'all threw her away. You used her. You had her come all the way to the United States, didn't tell her she was filming. She comes, she's thinking she's just doing your podcast. And as a human, she wants to receive the love and support from her family. Like, who doesn't want that? She's a human being.
you want what you feel like you need, but that's not really life, right? Like life gives you the things that you just have to learn how to deal with. On the lead up to going to the US, it just was like, I don't even know if I want to go. I don't even know, like what am I doing? I started to doubt myself. I started to think about, is this the right way for me to talk about things? Like, also, what am I about to walk into? Am I about to be ambushed? I was very scared when I was even just arriving in the A. I was like, what if somebody's outside? Do you know what I mean? There's threats inside of the text message that I had received from before. And so it was just.
So, guys, pay attention to what she's saying. And what she's saying makes a lot of sense. You can kind of always tell what you're going to embark upon a lot of times by the things that happen en route to something. She's talking about being afraid, feeling, or I'm sorry, reading text messages that she was pretty much threatened. So therefore, she didn't even feel comfortable. She did not feel comfortable and thought about not even going, but yet she went hoping that she was going to finally face something that she had ran from her entire life.
Very much like I'm not really feeling safe, And I was grateful that I had my friends who were there to.
Now, that's some shit to be around your own family and not feel safe. Can anybody relate to that? She said, not even feeling safe. That's really messed up because you can feel safe around a damn stranger. But when you say, I don't feel safe, how do you not feel safe around the very people that's supposed to love you? That should have told her everything right there.
Kind of support, and it felt very much like, everybody's like, send your location, girl. Everybody was just checking in, like, are you okay? I had to let some.
So she goes into talking about everybody says send your location. She's talking about her own individual friends. So at some point she must have felt, afraid, and she's relaying this message to others, and they're saying, girl, send us your location.
People know what could be happening. I had to let people know where I was at. It was just a very stressful moment. I think it's just important for me to share this because you could also be going through the same thing, or maybe this is why you're not sharing yourself or sharing your stories, because you're afraid of the repercussions and the backlash. I feel like people were trying to do a good job of trying to shut me up and to try to make me be quiet, and I can understand. But at the same time, this is why I say tell your story, is because, there's no story that you could put out about me that's going to make me be quiet. Do you know what I mean? And sure, if you feel like that's what you need to do, then you got to do it. But at the same time, it's like, you got to make sure that you tell. It's like, I don't really know what you could say about me that I haven't already said about me. And I think that that is so, so, so important. And if you're somebody who's facing this time of your life, or maybe this is why you're scared, is because you feel like there's going to be so much backlash against you, or people are not going to believe you. That also threw me for a loop. I'm going to put this part in part 2, but I didn't realize that I had actually surrounded myself with people that I thought believed me, but in reality didn't. And I was picking up on it, and I was trying to make it so that they would believe me. You know what I mean? Like my energy.
Who do y'all think she's talking about? She's talking about these very people that's supposed to be her family members. She says she has surrounded herself by people that she thought. So here she is in a whole nother country. She done left the US because she needed to get the hell away from y'all. And I'm talking about the Braxtons. So now she comes back to the US because she's thinking she's just doing a podcast when she is filming, doing a podcast, and now she's back in fight or flight mode because now she needs to make sure y'all believe what the hell she's saying. That's some bullshit.
He was like, how can I be believed? And I'm going to talk about that in part 2, but that also kind of threw me for a loop as well. My people, my tribe here, I think people just know me for a different version of me. And so they know that this is something that I'm passionate about. They know that I've been talking about this for a while. It's not like it's just come up out of the blue. They know that this was the next step in my journey, you know, in terms of like sharing. And so for them, it was very much like, I'm so proud of you. This is the next step. You're being very courageous. You can do it. You know you're going to get a lot of backlash. You know that it's going to be some support, but then some not support, and you just have to keep going. So pre-podcast for me was a lot, but at the same time, it took a lot out of me, but it definitely made me stronger mentally. And I just have a different perception in terms of sharing and telling my story. So I'm actually doing a talk in, I think it's either 2 or 3 months, and I'm going to be on stage and sharing my story in another aspect, in a space and place of like this. I'm an advocate for abuse, and I'm speaking to a crowd of people who have been abused. So the energy is going to be completely different, but I have a different energy in terms of my deliverance of what I'm trying to say, because it's not even a space and place of like, do you believe me? It's not like, please, you know, do you believe me? Please, sir, can I have some more? It's not even that. It's very much like, no, this is it. This is what happens. This is me. This is who I am today. And if you're a survivor, put your hands up in the air and say, you know, amen. And if you are in the process of becoming a survivor, we got.
I forgot, y'all. I'll be going on mute so y'all can't hear any background noise. But this was a video that Ashley posted, and this was right after she came from the United States doing Tamar's podcast and also doing the show. As you guys saw in her video, she said she went not even knowing that she was going to be doing the show. So this was all an ambush for ratings. This young lady was used. As she states, she was abused. And then you see Trinabraxton basically on there becoming a victim. This was a 16-year-old girl. Now, I misspoke earlier because I said she was a child. In fact, she was a teenager, but she was still considered a child, not a little child, but a teenager. Okay. She received some kind of sexting from a grown ass man that Tamar's sister, Trina, allegedly was married to, because everybody thinks it was Gabe. And judging from what Trina said in this clip right here, it really makes it seem as though it was Gabe.
Never hear something about your family through social media first. Period. People who have absolutely no knowledge or idea of the situation were bullying me.
Right.
Was devastated.
Trina was devastated because she was bullied. But what about a 16-year-old who your husband was allegedly texting? What about her trauma?
I was absolutely devastated. I told you, I'm sorry that this has happened to you, and I embraced you. But if there was something additional that you needed from me, why didn't you call me?
Why didn't you call me? You see, some people know how to play victim in every single circumstances. The fact of the matter is, Ashley was somebody, a kid, a teenager, who did not receive the protection that she was supposed to receive. But it seems like this family has gotten lawyers involved, sent cease and desist, because she has decided to tell her story. Now, in telling her story, she has never pointed out any individuals. Now, we can draw conclusions, but why has it been so much emphasis toward protecting an abuser opposed to reaching out to Ashley, giving her a hug, listening to what she has to say, and giving her support. It goes to show how evil these Braxton people really are. And yes, they used her for ratings, and they're just not good people. Y'all got to let me know what y'all think in the comments.